Okay, so here we go again. The Coronavirus talk number two actually. I just posted a video on my YouTube channel about the coronavirus, which I made the 14th of March. I didn't post it because I thought it was a little bit too aggressive. I was very angry. Because that is what happens to me when I see something, something really stupid that is about to go off. I get a little bit too emotional, and I felt it was, but then I took a look at it now and I felt that it was actually not as bad as I thought the first time. So I posted it anyway. What I was saying in that video has now shown to be quite right. Even a friend of mine who I was arguing with like crazy, he's a physician, he also told, I remember he said, "You shouldn't tell me his job," because he was a physician, who is a physician. And I said, well, I'm able to read too, and that is the thing with me. I like information. I take in enormous amount of information. I follow things like this, like a moth to a, light at night. I just can't let it go. It's very typical me. I go all the way in, and I just saw how the media was hyping it up. I've seen how politicians have caved to the pressure. In Norway, they have until now, it's now the 16th of, it's actually the 17th of May. Our national day was 16th of May, just yesterday. And they have until now, I checked the numbers, they have used 241 billion kroner. Now, a billion kroner, you need 10 kroner right now. The dollar is very high, so you need 10 kroner to get $1. But in United States, they have used $6 trillion on this. 6 trillion. And actually, there are almost 1 billion poor people in the world. There is like 431 million that is really, really, really poor. We have, as I said in another video, about 22,000 children die every day of lack of immunization, lack of food, medicine. They don't have school, they don't have anything at all. And we the United States have been spending $6 trillion on this. And I have to ask, where the hell do they get the money from? As I've heard, I'm not sure about this, but that are just printing it or borrowing it from China or something. But, China is a problem in the first place. In the last video, I thought it was actually coming from a bat, that people ate a bat. But the new information that came out was that China had this in a lab and escaped from a lab. And they covered it up, and they let the Chinese people go from China to Europe to the United States without stopping them. At the same time, they were trying to stop it in China. So I'm not much for conspiracy theories and like that, but you can say that just because something is a conspiracy theory, it doesn't mean that it's wrong. So it wouldn't right now surprise me that it was a way for China to try to fuck up the Western and especially the American economy, so it could actually break or ruin the re-election of Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is the greatest threat to Chinese economy since communism, basically. he has done a tremendous job by taking power back from China. And it wouldn't surprise me that when everything shit comes to shove, as they say, China actually put this out willfully. This is not the first time there comes viruses from China. You had the swine flu, you had the bird flu or chicken flu or whatever, you had SARS and different stuff like this that actually comes from China. So maybe we should stop actually buying so much stuff from China. If you stop buying so much from China or outsourcing the jobs to China, we wouldn't be in the situation where we would get the virus that easily. And we could also demand that China actually fix the problem. That would be a good start. Anyway, back to, and one thing I want to talk about in this, you may have heard about Dr. Erickson. There was two doctors, Dr. Erickson was one of them. They put out a video about the numbers, that this is now coming in new numbers from, because they are testing immunization of people, and it seems that I was kind of right when what I said in the other video in March, that to have this amount of registered people who have the disease, you have to have a sea of other people that has affected that. And also, it is now seen that up to 85 times more people has been infected without any signs of disease, or maybe some light flu-like symptoms. And it also has been a flu season. So, as one said, it's funny, suddenly there died 60,000 people in America last flu seasons. Suddenly, nobody had the flu and everybody had the coronavirus. What has also been shown now, that they have actually said that many people who died had the coronavirus or died from the coronavirus, and they actually didn't, because they were kind of hyping up the numbers. I guess that maybe they're doing the same thing in Norway. But I mean, in Norway, we have had registered people that had it, has been 8,221. We have 51 hospitalizations, and we have 233 deaths. And the average age of death is over 87. But my prediction is that when we are starting to dig into the, testing people for antibodies, we will see that probably 1 million Norwegians, including me, has been infected by this virus, even more, and had no symptoms at all. I don't know if I had it. Maybe I have. Wouldn't wonder. Now, it is 2 months since they shut down the whole country. And they have also shut down the gym. They have shut down, they just reopened some, it's so silly. Suddenly, they had this idea that you had to keep away from 2 meters away from people. And suddenly, they changed it to 1 meter. And my first thought was, how the hell do they know this? How the hell do they come up with these numbers? And, I mean, in America, in New York actually, New York area, they saw now, new numbers coming out, that 60% of the infected was people that stayed home, and not that went out. And also, if you stay home for 2 fucking months, your health starts to deteriorate. I haven't been to the gym now for 2 fucking months. I haven't been this long away from training since I was 12, okay? And it really starts to take a toll on you. I'm an artist. It has also some implications with my art. I lost a couple of commission works because the North Sea was shutting down and everything, and people are scared of not having enough money and stuff like that, so it also affects me. I mean, if you stay inside, you have lower D vitamin, you get a lower, worse immune system, and it just keeps on spiraling down. And for what? For what? Who is actually dying from this virus? It is the elderly, the very old, and it's the very obese or people with underlying conditions. It is not young, healthy people. Okay, I'm not that young. I'm 52 now. I had a double hip replacement last year. Of course, I'm maybe a little bit impaired, but I take my chances. As I said to my father, because my father said, "Oh, what if you die?" he said. Well, then I die. It doesn't change the fact that on average, it is the very old and the very sick who dies from this. And of course it's sad that old people end their lives basically suffocating. And I mean, as I said in the other video, this is, and the numbers show this more and more, this is not really a coronavirus problem. It is an obesity problem. It is a lifestyle problem. It is a problem basically made out of our lifestyles. I mean, half the population in the West now is basically obese. And that means that our immune systems are just screwed. And when viruses comes in now, new viruses or viruses, people die from this. So the best thing you could do to save yourself from a virus, if influenza, this virus or any other virus, it is to stay healthy, to take care of your body. That is the way to go, okay? But people don't do that. They are sitting, "Oh, I'm so scared." You know, this one guy I know had been using the last 20 years as I knew him on Facebook, or at least 15 years, killing himself. And now he's scared of dying, wearing a mask and stuff. And it's so silly. And I think I've talked about that in the other video. Now, what also pisses me off is that YouTube is now censoring information that doesn't comply with the politicians' view on this. Of course, in Norway, we have spent 241 billion kroner. That's a lot of money in Norway. Because our economy isn't that big, we are like 5 million people in Norway. And they have now been so hysterical. And I saw a newspaper article yesterday that they are actually suppressing numbers that contradicts with their policy. But this will of course come out, drip, 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 after a while. But they have now been closing people in, and in one sentence they are talking about this mass immunity, that you have to have the healthy people have to become infected so they can actually you get this herd immunity. But how the hell are we going to do that? For 2 months we haven't been able to go out. We haven't been able to go to a cafe, to the gym, or anything. So how the hell are you going to get the healthy people to become infected? To protect the people who can actually get sick from this. What happened? And you see the politicians, not so much in Norway, but in the United States, it is just crazy to watch how the left or Pelosi and these politicians now are using this to try to break Trump's back, which of course they will never be able to because he's the Hulk, he's an anti-hero, superhero, something. He's made out of stuff that is very rare on this planet, to put it mildly. But they are using this and they don't even care about the people. And I start to get that feeling in Norway also, because now it has turned into this vanity thing. The politicians now, they are kind of competing within each other. Competing about who's best on Corona. Who is the best protector of the people? Well, as I said in the last video, we lose about 1,200 or 1,100 people to ordinary flu every year, and nobody says anything about it. It's just normal. And even now, when the new numbers are coming out, we know... Okay, yes, there wasn't any more space in the card. Anyway, what I was saying, we now know for certainty, that the amount of infected are way more than registered. We know this, but the politicians in Norway are pretending that it's the same. They are pretending like it is plague. And as I say, this has now become, I think it has become a vanity problem. Basically a vanity problem for the politicians. And they are willing to spend... I heard somewhere that we're talking, now it's 241 billion kroner. But I heard somewhere that they were actually planning to use 1,000 billion kroner on this. And that would actually amount to almost 2 state budgets. Or is it 1? I don't know. Something like that. Anyway, it would cost 175 billion to feed the poor in the world. I think it's 175 billion dollars to feed all the poor in the world for 1 year. And America has used 6 trillion, Norway 241. The Swedes did not do this, and it was the right thing. They just did one mistake, and that was actually not protecting the elderly in the old pensioners' homes and stuff like that. And Cuomo in New York did the same mistake. He actually did the even worse. He demanded that Corona victims should be treated in the same places as old people, you know, old pensioners' home and stuff like that, which created a firestorm of death among the elderly in New York. And about, I read a number, was 5,500 elderly that had died in New York alone. But in Sweden you had, what was the numbers in Sweden? I think it was 1,000, 1,200 or something like that. It wasn't that much. A death toll in Sweden, let's look it up. Okay, not today, but yeah, okay, it's up to 3,500 dead in Sweden. And yeah, but there are also at least double amount of people in Sweden. But it did this one mistake. They didn't protect the elderly. And if they had done that, the numbers would have been totally different. In Italy, they saw that the average age of death in Italy was about 81 and up. In Norway, it is 87. there would be no problem protecting the elderly. And locking young people up like this is just ridiculous. Using this amount of money on this is also totally ridiculous. And I saw in the news today, actually, on the 16th of May, on the news, NRK, you can look that up if you're Norwegian on nrk.no, that now cancer patients, women with breast cancer patients, the politicians has decided that cancer patients are not gonna be allowed to come back and get their treatment because they are waiting for in case of a new wave of corona victims. But as I say, there's only been 51 people in hospitals in Norway. It says here, actually, it's strange, since there are 2,000, maybe it's 51 now, but anyway, there's only been 233 deaths in Norway, which can't possibly break the hospitals. I can't see that happen. But anyway, they are not going to allow people with cancer to get these beds, which is now empty, which means that you will have a surge of cancer deaths in Norway because of this, exactly as I have predicted and have been arguing with my father about again and again and again. And it's just sad. It's just so sad. As I said in the beginning, this is not a virus problem. It is basically an obesity problem. My brother actually screamed to me, and I probably said that in the last video, what if my parents died? Well, it's not a thing I look forward to, but someday it will happen. There are two ways here. I die before them and they experience my death, or I die after them and I have to experience their death. But even, as I said before, that I don't want to live in a society that don't want to sacrifice me for a greater cause. So if I should die from this virus, that wouldn't change anything. If I got really sick and wound up on a ventilator in a hospital or something like that, which you shouldn't be put on anyway, because only 20% of the people who go on a ventilator actually survives it. And they haven't had a test between a group that doesn't get it and a group that has it. So it might be, and there's also some numbers coming out now, it might be that putting people with the coronavirus on ventilators actually makes it worse. And I saw a Joe Rogan experience talk or podcast the other day. He has a friend, a quite young guy, and he almost died from it. And there was a doctor in that hospital that he was lying in that said, don't put this guy on a ventilator, because if you do, he's going to die. And I also saw another video from some health workers that said that they are killing people by putting them on ventilators too early, and they're giving them the wrong treatment, and all kinds of shit that is happening to people who actually die. The problem with the guy on Joe Rogan was that he had been using a lot of tablets or medicines because he had a kind of a fever, and he tried to keep the fever down with aspirin and some other stuff he was using. And it is a known fact that aspirin actually that was Dr. Berg, was that his name? Well, he had this talk about what killed people in the 1920 pandemic, and one of the reasons why people died like flies was the excessive use of aspirin, which for some reason are doing bad shit to the immune system. Also, a fever, when you get a fever, it is a way for the immune system to fight the virus, because you increase the temperature to a level that actually kills the virus and makes it more easy for the immune system to fight the virus. So you should never use fever medicines that put the fevers down. You should let the fever go. The more you burn, the better it is, basically. Of course, to a certain point, because you can also die from a fever. You actually gets too hot. I've heard. I'm not really sure if that is true either, but you know, that's what I heard anyway. So do not put down the fever. It is like it's like when you drink too much and you start puking or vomiting. That's what saves your life. If you didn't vomit, it's a way for the body to say, enough, I'm poisoned, I need to get this shit up. And in a way, fever works in the same way. It is the body's reaction to something to fight it. So don't do that. So, mosques, I think that one's funny. The mosques, yeah. Wear masks everywhere. I've seen people walking the streets with these masks, and you see masks everywhere. You know, they just take them off and throw them away. They take the gloves off and throw them away in the streets. And it's so annoying. It's so annoying because people are basically pigs. Sorry about this. But one more thing that I think is quite funny, and maybe I just close with that. What's funny is that at this point they have been starting to produce a lot of cool masks that very young, basically healthy people are wearing because it's cool. So this has now become the new cool. The new fashion. Oh, look at my mask. I have this on it, and it's a face like this, and you have teeth, and you have different colors. Oh, it sits to my skin, and blah, 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 blah. So I actually told one, I don't even know if you're friends on Instagram anymore, a girl that was showing off her masks, and I told her that, well, you're not in the danger zone. Darling, you're young. We're relatively healthy, and there's no reason for you to wear a mask. And of course she got angry because I call it a vanity project, and that is basically what it is. There is no numbers that show that masks have protected anyone. There is just no numbers, and it even maybe makes it worse. Okay, so fuck masks. It's very important to get in vitamin D. Vitamin D is crucial. You should also take zinc. I take vitamin D, I take zinc, I take potassium, I take magnesium, I take different, and I eat very healthy. So, and I also fast at least 16 hours a day to strengthen my immune system. It's also good for everything else. So yeah, I think I talked about the numbers, mass immunity, the politics, the healthcare. I saw this doctor was really mad about the healthcare thing, about the cancer. He was really pissed off because of the politicians who doesn't let cancer patients come into the hospitals. And what will happen now in the future, and they're already talking about that, they have to save money, and which means that Norway has this universal healthcare system, which is good if you are quite healthy, But if you get a cancer or you get any disease that is very difficult, you have to stand in a queue, you have to wait for your treatment, and now the wait will be way longer. You have also the fact of the 1 billion poor people in the world. When the rich gets poorer, the poor get even more poor. So what will happen now is probably, it won't be 22,000 kids dying every day anymore. It will be like 45,000 for a long while. And there will probably be 500 million more poor. That is just a number I take out of the air, but that is probably what will happen. And it's a sad fact. What I do hope is that the silver lining in this is that we learn a lot about viruses. We learned never to become hysterical again because we just can't afford it. I think it's very important that we take our jobs back from China. Actually, in Norway, they are sending fish from Norway all around the world to wrap it up, cut it up and wrap it up, and then send it back to Norway to the stores. And then you're talking about saving the planet and CO2 and blah, 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 blah. Okay. Yeah, so, yeah, I think this was basically it. In Italy, people died of the same reasons like in the United States, because of old age and obesity and smoking and bad health. And we have closed down Europe and the West for absolutely no good reason. And the future now will prove me even more right than I already am. So I think with this, I'm just gonna rest my case. It's a shame I jump around a bit when I talk. For some of you, that might be interesting. For other people, it will not. But I don't give a shit, because I just need to get this off my chest. I need to just post this, because I'm so tired of listening. They have now been closing down the gym. They are not even opening the gym. They're going to wait a whole month, all the way until next month, to open the gym. Why? In which universe do healthy people who like to go to the gym and train die from this? In which universe is that rational? It just isn't, okay? The same thing, I was thinking about going out today, just have a meal or something. And they are closing down at 11 and 12 in the evening. Why? 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 And yeah, people are sheep. It's like in the 1970s Caligula movie, when he stands there and just got his horse, declared a god, and he asks the people in the Duma or the parliament, do you agree about this horse? And people are sitting there scared to death. Nobody wants to be the first one or the last one to say anything. And so one says, I, and then they just say, I, and he just starts, meh, meh. Probably the best scene in that movie, or that, was it McDowell something that played Caligula? And that is a problem with the people, with the masses. They are like sheep. They are ignorant to the absurd. They are scared of things that aren't dangerous. They are not scared of being fat and getting a heart attack, but they are scared of a fucking virus. They're not scared of getting cancer, or abdominal cancer, because they eat the wrong foods. No, no, no. They are scared of a fucking virus. They aren't scared of all the drinking, all the partying, all the crazy shit they do, but they are scared of this virus. So, yeah. With this, I rest my case. It's a very long video with a lot of, I shouldn't say that, rants, because it was an ex-friend of mine who said, my rants. And then I said, I don't rant. And I said, he was actually right. I was saying that I was ranting, and that's probably what I do. But they are my rants, and I can say whatever I want to. Hopefully, I'm not popular enough for YouTube to shadow ban my videos, like they did with Dr. Erickson again and again and again and again and again and again and again. So shame on you, YouTube. The freedom of speech is the mother, father, God, and everything of free speech. You know, free speech is everything. It's a mother of all freedoms. So stop censoring opposing views, because that is what we really need to listen to, because they might be right about something. Okay, welcome to the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. It was a long rant, but I hope you go to my YouTube channel and watch me paint. There's a lot of different painting tutorials that you can learn from. And I also hope that you go to my Patreon and you sign up for $1 or $5. You can actually win a small painting in my Patreon giveaway lottery every month. So please go check it out. And if you want me to teach you how to paint, I will also do that if you sign up. So share it with your friends, give a thumbs up, and check out the links in description.